I really feel like we need to reframe the way we think as Africans to accept that African American people are our lost siblings. With the rise of people saying that they're not descendants of Africans and like that agenda being pushed, I feel like there's really an anti-African vibe going on.
What is this diaspora wars? Here's something you need to know. Diaspora wars can be loosely described as cross-cultural arguments among different ethnicities of African people where we express discontent with each other for various reasons. And the interesting thing is that it's normal to have a certain level of cross-cultural conflict or discussions. Yep, that is what we are going to discuss today. I've been getting these arguments: are Africans against African Americans, or are African Americans against Africans? We need to settle these matters. We don't need fights no more. You see, because sometimes I sense there is hatred, sometimes I sense there is anger, and we want to dispel all this. It's normal to have these kind of things, but it's not normal to live in it. It's not acceptable. Now, let's dive in.
It's like feeling like Nigerians don't like African Americans, or African Americans don't like Nigerians, or Africans don't like Caribbean people don't like African Americans. Like all of this, all of the fighting. Giving you a background on myself, I was born in London but completely raised here in Atlanta, Georgia. And I'm of Nigerian descent. I'm Nigerian. I really liked how embraced I felt by African American culture from young, because I don't know, it's all I knew. Okay, so in my mind growing up, I knew in my household things were different, and then when I go outside to the world, things are different. So I knew obviously my parents are Nigerian, so they're speaking Yoruba to each other. There's certain things that we do culturally, but my socialization, because I feel like you're kind of more socialized by your outside space sometimes than your inside space, was African American. I've always enjoyed the music, I've always enjoyed the dancing, I've always enjoyed the food. I feel African American. I always make a distinction that I am not generationally African American, just because I feel like that is a really specific experience and that should be something separate. But I always make it known that I am influenced by African American culture because I grew up here. And one thing that I see whenever diaspora wars come up is a lot of Africans saying that when they came to America or growing up, they were called African booty scratchers. Like that word, and it's so funny because that word, doesn't it come from that movie with Eddie Murphy in it? Like, we need to have beef with them for creating that word and then putting it on us. But anyway, the term African booty scratcher, or people saying that you're burnt, or all these things, or whatever, all these like African terms saying like, oh, how do you guys make your house out of mud, da, 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 da. My perspective with that experience is, so yes, I was called an African booty scratcher, but for me, you know who else was called African booty scratchers? Dark-skinned people, dark-skinned girls growing up. Like one of my best friends growing up, her name was Jada. She was called African booty scratchers. People often in America assume dark-skinned people to be African looking. And the term of African being a pejorative, or like did I say that word right? But like African as like a negative term is all coming from anti-Blackness. And I wish that when we had discussions about diaspora wars, we spoke about the fact that a lot of what's going on is our anti-Blackness, how it plays out into each other. Like, someone calling me an African booty scratcher is like rooted in the fact that you feel like Africans are lower than every other group. The reason that people think Africans are lower than every other group is because of white supremacy, is because of this belief that Africans are beneath everyone else, right? So when a Black person is regurgitating these things that is to each other, we all know that the root comes from how non-Blacks view Africa, how the depiction of Africa has become global. If an African American person who looks like me is calling me an African booty scratcher, it's like more like, this is what I talk about when I'm talking about the double-edged sword, because you're stabbing yourself to stab me. And I wish that people understood that even though those terms hurt and those terms suck and being bullied as a kid sucks, when Black people are making insults towards you because of your culture, they're making the insults right back at them. Because we all know that African American people are African people. Like, they're descendants of African people. Something I also want to just like speak to is like, I lived in Nigeria for a year, and there's anti-Blackness that Nigerians say to other Nigerians. Like, colorism is so massive in Nigeria. It's big everywhere in the world. But I feel like the normalization of skin bleaching and stuff like that is so common in Nigeria that people make comments like that all the time. So for me, I'm like, why are we now singling out African Americans for saying anti-Black things towards us when our Nigerians also say anti-Black things towards each other, and African Americans say anti-Black things towards African Americans? Like, this is why I think it's so important to speak on things as systematic versus the individual experience, because when you see that the system that it's all under is anti-Blackness, then we can really, really get going. This is why I feel like colorism is so global, because colorism, featureism, texturism, because those are the three things that you use to identify a Black person. It's your hair, it's your complexion, and it's your features. So when you have those three things, like if you don't benefit from colorism, if you don't benefit from featureism, if you don't benefit from texturism, people are going to say very terrible things to you, and that is across the globe. They're gonna say it to you in Germany, they're gonna say it to you in Atlanta, they're gonna say it to you in Lagos. If you are someone who is genuinely affected by all three of those things, it's gonna be bad everywhere. I think when people come from other countries, there is a lot of propaganda to separate Africans, to not feel like they are a part of African American people, which is directly linked to white supremacy. I think it's very intentional that a system does not want people who look the same to feel united, because when you feel united, that's when power happens, that's when change happens. I think that's one element of it. And then the other element that I see in response is when Africans talk about the experiences they faced that was anti-African or Afrophobic, which is the degrading and dismissive and insulting terms that people use towards Africans, and how globally, once again, how white supremacy has taught us that Africa is an area that is undesirable, that is nobody wants to go there. Mind you, they're still mining the resources there. They are still getting labor done there for cheap. They are still, if you go to Nigeria, you will see a lot of non-Black people, but still, they will want you to globally feel like Africa is beneath the West. So I think these are two issues going on, and both issues is a subgroup of anti-Blackness. Another thing that I don't like about diaspora specifically, and why I find a lot of conversations triggering for me, is because when we talk about like African Americans and people who have this ignorance to like make jokes or say like African American people don't have culture, which is 100%.
African diaspora was. So first of all, we need to understand what is diaspora was, because I think, brother, we are having conflict between the Africans and the African Americans. Diaspora wars can be loosely described as cross-cultural arguments among different ethnicities of African people, where we express discontent with each other for various reasons. It is normal to have a certain level of cross-cultural conflict or discussion, you see. However, these conversations take a counterproductive turn when we internalize and promote anti-Black white supremacist narratives about each other that hyper-focus on divisions. Instead of how we can best unify for the purpose of collective freedom, it's time to move from war to understanding.
So generally, what he said, and also what I know, because it has just reinforced what I know. So diaspora was up there, of course, because we are human beings and we interact with each other people. But again, being Black, or as the Black community, doesn't mean that we are unified, like we have that unity which is expected from everyone. There are some, cross-cultural reasons as to why
we are different.
Yes.
And why we feel that there is some kind of conflict.
Yes.
The good news is that we can work through this conflict and bring about unification. We are going to discuss about the truth about diaspora wars. We are going to see how education systems have substantially neglected African history and Black history. We are going to understand the Pan-African world. The view of the Pan-African world is too diverse but also interconnected. We are also going to see the third point, which is most conflicts are inflamed due to mass generalization and stereotypes. Another point we are going to look at is many African diaspora derive from misunderstanding. Okay, this one is wrong. So many African diaspora conflicts derive from misunderstandings due to cultural perceptions and usage of language. And the last thing we are going to consider in this video, we are going to discuss how these conflicts can be resolved
through education of Pan-African history. At least when we understand our history, we are able to unite and come together as one people. Yes. So brother, I'm thinking we should discuss about the truth of these African diaspora wars, you see?
Yeah.
So first of all, we need to consider that recently online disinformation campaigns have used diaspora wars and black cross-cultural conflict to weaken black activism, cause confusion and spread false information. You see, this is the work of the enemy. He's trying to create confusion among the black people, you see? Now, this video is going to help you. We are going to discuss, and it's really going to help us remove all these misconception, misinformation that has been spread by media, most likely the Western media. And brother, I have a question to ask you though.
Yeah.
Do you think there's hatred between Africans and African Americans? What do you think? Does it exist or not?
Truth be told,
yeah,
there is hatred. But again, the good news is that we are fighting the fight which is not ours, you see. Because as you've just said, there are some people up there who is trying to, you know, to start these wars against ourselves. But again, all I know is that, of course, there's a small hatred, and it's because of this. There's a point which you raised there, which is something called mass generalization, you see. So for example, an African American comes to Kenya today,
yes,
and he is being mistreated, or maybe they are having bad experience with maybe a receptionist in Kenya,
an African receptionist,
a Kenyan receptionist,
okay,
to be precise. So when they go back to the United States, they'll go and say that, you know, Kenyans are not good people, you see. Now these will start wars because you taking everyone in Kenya.
Yes,
so
yes, yes.
It's a fight that involves Kenyans versus people from the United States.
Yeah.
Rather, a person will have said that I went to Kenya, I found this Kenyan lady, and she did to me this and this and this. Oh, a person from Kenya will understand, wow, that was bad.
Yeah.
We Kenyans, we don't do that.
Yes,
but when you go up there and say Kenyans, you're
putting the whole country at stake.
Yes, and that's a problem.
That's a really bad thing. That I actually did a video about this issue of mass generalization. See, there was a brother, he came over to Kenya, not Kenya, he's been coming to Africa, he's been to Kenya also, and he had these people scam him, steal from him. Now he was putting Africans as people who are scammers. He was putting Africans as people who are stealing. I did a video about that, and I was just discouraged by how he was mass generalizing Africans to be scammers, you see. So I think we should learn a little thing about the truth about diaspora, the African diaspora wars. So many institutional miseducation has often disconnected multiple generations of African descendants from pertinent black historical knowledge and nuanced global perspective on blackness, African heritage, ethnicity, and national origin. Additionally, the miseducation through enslavement and colonialism has often produced Eurocentric and anti-black perspective of self and other groups of African descendants.
True.
You see, first of all, this issue of Eurocentrism and anti-black perspectives. You see, the African does not even value him or herself no more. So can you add something about this, brother?
Yeah, Eurocentrism, it's not only in the United States. Eurocentrism is also in Africa,
which is so bad. At least it should exist outside Africa, but even we Africans are the one cooking it and serving it.
So I had a friend, and she went, do you know Westlands?
Yeah,
it's an high-end place. So
I've been to that place.
Yeah, so we have a lot of, you know, European there. So we have a lot of them. So they are like in a line. They're being served.
Yes.
Then I'm sorry to use this word, but a white guy comes to the reception, and then they are being passed, and then the lady asks, "What's wrong?" He should have queued just like any other person.
Yes.
So you see,
yeah,
what's the implication? It implies that this person is special than
And
the other
superior.
person. Yes, yes.
Yes,
So
yes.
if we treat them this way because they are superior, do you think what makes them superior?
Their color,
Their color.
the Eurocentrism thought.
Yeah.
You see?
Yeah. So that's the problem. It's still happening in Africa.
Yes.
And maybe if I go back to the United States, I haven't been to the United States, but
You
I've
will
seen,
be.
but I've seen, I've seen a couple of clips.
Yeah.
People play a couple of clips, and you see, there was this girl. I've forgotten her name. She said that the blacks, the place where they deserve to be is jail, as long as you are a black person.
Was this girl black or white?
She was black, man.
Oh my God!
She
And
was
see,
black.
she's saying Africans, like
Yes.
black people, should be in jail.
Yeah, generally black. When you're black, you decide to be in jail.
Yeah.
So insinuation is that black is like being a crime, you know, being a crime, and she recognizes herself as she recognizes herself as a Caucasian.
But she's black.
She's black,
Oh, I think I should have a look at that video.
which means that she values the other,
The Caucasian side of her.
yeah, than she doesn't have any part of Caucasian, even 1%.
Yeah, but where is she saying she's Caucasian?
Eurocentrism. That's what we're talking about. So she
Yes.
believes that, you know, being in a given kind of way makes you special. Yeah, so that's a problem that we are still having. And you see, this Eurocentrism, in some point, it also stars your diaspora wars. Because if I'm looking at you, for
Yes.
example,
Yes.
an African American, if they come to Kenya today, if they will not speak to me or utter any word, I might think that they're Africans.
Yeah, there we have the same phenotypical features.
Yes, because phenotypically we are same. Until somebody speaks, then you'll notice that there is a difference.
Yes.
But then the problem is,
Yes.
you see a person, they are black, okay?
Yes. Yes.
But what they identify themselves to be makes you wonder. So you find that a lot of people will start questioning the same person, and when they question the person, now that's where the conflict starts. You know, some people will come and tell them that no, you are lying, you're an African. You know, you have an African descent, and then they will deny.
Yeah.
Then there's a group of people who will back them. You'll find a group of white people who will back them up by saying that you know, they are white, what's wrong with you? If they decide to be white, they're white. So it will spark some more, you know, the type of argument, and then it will take us back to the transatlantic trade, who are the pioneers of a given place, who are not, who are the real Americans, who are not real Americans. So these things in the long run.
Actually, I'm thinking this issue of Eurocentrism is brought about by slavery and colonialism, because somebody is always below their master. You can never be above your master. Say you have a servant, right?
Yeah.
Maybe he washes your car or he drives you around. There's no particular day where he'll ever order you around. You are always there to push. You are always there to give the orders. So Africans, we've lived to be colonized. Africans, we've lived to be slaves. You see. So with the 400 years of slavery, you see, this thing can do something to your mind, and it's more of a psychological things that Africans have, because even the white man does not have trouble coming and telling us Africans that I should come first. We automatically do it, automatically, even without them requesting. I think Africans, we should value our pride and love ourselves, as well as love those white people. What we are trying to say is that in as much as we are fighting for blackness, we should love all races. We should, whether white, whether Indian, Chinese, black. No race is superior or inferior. And that is what I always say. And in fact, brother, the other day scientists were saying that Africans, that all humans came from Africa. So Africa is the place where all humanity came out from scientifically. That is what they are saying. You see, we have different perspectives of the origin of humanity. We have the Darwinism, we have which is the scientific method. We have the creation theory, we have the mythical theories. So whichever way you try and look at it, the scientific method is always, people believe it to be more objective. So it says here in Africa, even those people who are denying to be Africans, they came from here. The Caucasian girl you said, she's black, bro. She's black, and she's black because she's an African, she came from Africa, she developed that skin to protect her from UV lights from the sun, you see. I don't know whether you're getting me, brother.
Yeah, I'm getting you, totally.
So the next thing I want us to look at is the Pan-African world is diverse but also interconnected. The Pan-African, brother, what do you understand by the one Pan-African?
So generally, Pan-Africanism is from the word pan. It's a group of African countries which are coming together and they have a common objective.
Yes.
It can be uniting the blacks. They have the main the aim of the main goal of them is uniting the black community, standing for the blacks, representing them during the judicial times and the justice times. Generally, the Pan-Africanism is to stand for the black people in general and to embrace the African culture in the broader perspective, even into the national, how will I say it, into the international,
from the regional to the national to the international, then to the global.
Yes.
So
it offers a large spectrum of African culture, the diversity in Africa, but it represents Africa as a whole. Now that's Pan-Africanism. Well, continue the question.
All right. Actually, it's not a question. It's a conversation. So we have the Pan-African world is diverse, you see, but also interconnected through shared experiences, shared and intersecting histories, shared cultural affinities, and racial identity. We have W.E. Du Bois. He came all the way from United States to Ghana. We have Kwame Nkrumah. He left Ghana, went to the United States. We have Nelson Mandela. These people are living far apart, but this thing is diverse. It's diverse by culture, it's diverse by region, but we are still interconnected because we suffer the same things that other people suffer. In South Africa, they suffered apartheid from the same oppressors. In Ghana, they suffered colonialism. In the USA, they suffered slavery from the same oppressors. So coming together, the Pan-Africanism is an idea that brings Africans together. We suffered this. What can we do to heal ourselves? And I'm thinking the idea of Pan-Africanism, or whoever invented this thing, this person was a genius and he was trying to bring peace between Africans.
Actually,
it's really important to me.
Actually, in Africa, I would recognize, apart from our pioneers, the Du Bois, the Marcus Garvey, I would also recognize our African president, that's Kwame Nkrumah. Imagine Kwame Nkrumah said that Africans will not get independence unless we bring all our Africans together. There is no independence until we bring all Africans together.
Actually, he was the same president who advocated for the African Union and Africa having a one government. Other than Gaddafi, he also did that somewhere in Ethiopia.
Africa is not free until every African country gets independence. That was Kwame Nkrumah said. So you also understand that
he was really a Pan-African. He was not selfish. He was not about Ghana only. He saw Nigeria, he saw Kenya, he saw South Africa, he saw many countries. When one country was left behind while being colonized, he said that the whole continent was not free. Just imagine, for one country, the whole of it is not free. How much do you think of a Pan-Africanist this guy was? I think he's really great, brother.
He's really great, and that's one of our greatest engagements until today. And there is no history without Kwame Nkrumah. Because while we talk about Pan-Africanism, we talk about Kwame Nkrumah.
They're very synonymous.
Yes.
Yeah, true. So most conflicts are inflamed due to mass generalization and stereotypes. No need to explain this, or let's just explain. You see, the Western media is spreading this false information about Africa. I always see this through my comments. We see this through the news. Because Eugene, from your channel, have you found these weird comments about stereotypes of Africa?
Personally, I've been attacked. Well, I won't say if it's an African American or if it's...
But you've been attacked.
Yeah, I've been attacked through the comment section.
Yes.
I think there's a person who said that you're talking about reparations. You don't know anything about reparations. You stay in your art. She said heart. She never said the house.
It was a woman you could tell.
I think it was a man.
Yeah.
You stay in your heart. In your small, actually the word was in your small heart. So it's a stereotype in this sense. Everyone that comes from Africa stays in a heart.
Yeah, but it's not true. We guys, we always show you these things. You can see how much Nairobi is developed. We don't have huts in Nairobi. Where do we have huts, brother?
Oh, we don't have huts unless it's a cultural place.
Yes, like Bomas of Kenya.
Yeah.
So that is some of the things that it's so bad that an African American is telling an African such kind of words. This is just disunity among us, and I think it's not good to speak of such things. It's really not good. So most conflicts are inflamed due to mass generalization and stereotypes of a negative context applied to varying groups. These conflicts can range from feelings of cultural superiority, feelings of disunity or abandonment, and or feelings of disrespect. You see here we have from feelings of cultural superiority and feelings of disrespect. There was this black American who once commented on my YouTube. He was telling me that that we are lower class, we are lower grade humans, we Africans, that they are the superior Africans, you see, because they say our genes is weak and all that. Also the other day you shared with me a video where a brother was saying that they are superior. Was it you, brother, or was I watching it somewhere else?
It was on my channel.
Yes.
Actually, an African American. It was not an African American. Was it? It was African American telling the other person. I won't say if it was a Caribbean or Afro-Caribbean or Indo-Caribbean.
Yes.
But the other person was telling the other person from the same community.
Yes.
That he is a lesser black, you know.
Which is really bad.
It's something like
lesser black, African.
Yeah, something like that.
So he was putting himself on top of this other guy.
So it's like we have a black community,
yes,
and then we have
hierarchies
amongst the black themselves. So the division is so serious.
We don't have such kind of hierarchies, not in the level of races. Maybe in wealth, we might have hierarchies in wealth, but looking at someone and judging that I'm superior than you, no. Nobody is more African than the other person. I believe we are all Africans. If you have the African DNA, you have it, no matter where you come from. Whether you come from Uganda, whether you come from New Jersey, it does not matter. An African is a person who is proud and acknowledges all Africans like him are equal. I just think we are equal because even this person who is saying that that the other African is inferior, or rather he is more superior, when a white person comes, what will a white person say? I'm superior than you both. And then when another person comes, I'm superior than this white person and these Africans. So it never ends. This thing never ends. And this is what we are trying to bring to an end. We are trying to bring an end this conflict, who is richer, who is this and that. That's why we are fighting. You come to Africa where you will not have such challenges, you see. Now we have 2 points to go. Many African diaspora conflicts derive from misunderstanding due to cultural perception and the usage of language. Can you say something about this usage of language? Because I tend to find many black Americans, not all, many, are always using vulgar languages and very dirty languages. The F word, the N word, you see, they can't complete a sentence without the F word, brother. Yeah.
I think we need to understand, you know, language is part of culture, and you know, even in the United States, people speak differently.
Yes.
People who are from New York speak differently from people from Los Angeles. Yeah, they have kind of a different dialect. So there's some people, some African Americans who are soft with their speech.
Yes.
So there's some people who are so fast with their speech, and I think if you're an African, this is why we're talking about the cross-cultural misunderstandings.
Yes, yes.
To them, it's not an insult because a friend can talk to the other friend and tell them the F word, but if they're addressed in African, they won't understand the same thing.
Yes, yes.
So these misunderstandings, at some point, they can be a cause of conflict.
I agree.
But again, to them, they might not see if it's a problem because that's how they communicate because of their environment and their upbringing.
Yes.
Yeah.
True. So to reinforce what Eugene has said, I think we need to have some example, which is a Nigerian rapper made a song about the term Akata in order to educate other Nigerians and promote unity. You see? However, clips of the video began circulating online and without having context. Various groups of the African diaspora misunderstood his message. You see, blowing words out of context is another thing. So this resulted in the belief that the rapper was making disparaging remarks about their ethnicity. A heated online exchange ensued, after which his full explanation was shared by others to provide more context. The misunderstanding was caused because the term Akata is sometimes used in a negative context towards Nigerians living abroad as well as other groups. Despite popular beliefs in the United States, the term is not used exclusively towards Black American and is not used by all Nigerians. Consequently, the assumption was that the rapper was being negative towards Black American when his message was the opposite. This is obvious because we don't understand each other's languages. We might not take it right. When I say something, it might be meaning something different with you. Like brother here said, a black brother or a black sister from Los Angeles, and another brother from where, bro? Where was it?
NY, New York.
Yeah, New York. You see, these people might be speaking with different tones. When I hear someone speaking with a certain tone, I might think it's becoming offensive. So I might react, that is just how they talk. He's not being offensive or that.
Also, we have the choice of words. For example, if I call you the N-word, you understand the N-word?
Yeah.
So to the African Americans, a majority of them, it's problematic. You can't say that.
Yeah.
But you see, I used to have a friend. You could say the N-word every time to mean that, bro. It's a bro code name.
Yes.
So N-word to them, it's so insulting. But we as Africans, when we talk to our fellow Africans, it's something which is normal.
Yes.
See?
It's normal.
Yeah. So I think there's a misunderstanding when it comes to language, even the choice of words and the context, the way you just said. Because context, I think it also entails place.
Yes,
so to the United States of America, when you use the N-word, I don't know why this movie, so I don't understand. The white guy, I'm sorry to use the I don't like to use those sensitive racist terms, but the white guy, they were somehow like in a hostel, and a couple of white guys were singing, and then they started using the N-word, and then
the white guys,
and then the black guy felt so insulted, and he went straight to the person who was leading the song and punched him to the face. So I don't understand. Maybe you guys tell us in the comment section.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you, Eugene, for the example. So the last thing we have to consider is conflicts can be resolved through education of Pan-African history. This diaspora wars can be eradicated by teaching of Pan-African history. You see, the Western media most likely does not want or does not expose the full African history of Pan-Africanism, because when we learn these things, we will come to to be aware, will develop some awareness, and they are trying as hard as they can to prevent this from happening. So many cross-cultural conflicts can be resolved through education of Pan-African history that explain the origin of humanity in Africa. I told you this, right? Pre-colonial African societies, how and why African descendants were dispersed, how the Pan-African world fought and survived through enslavement and colonialism, how the Pan-African world has unity and collaborated in liberation movements, and the current experiences and interconnectedness of the global black experiences. So once we learn these things, African diaspora wars, I think, will come to a great end. Even if it does not come to a complete end, it will have really reduced, because, bro, there's real tension between the African and the African diaspora. I always feel it sometimes. Do you have anything to add, brother?
Generally, it's about Eurocentrism. You know, at some point before starting to learning about, you know, the black supremacy, because it's something that we also need to know. We also have the black supremacy in as much as they're saying that there is a white supremacy.
Yes.
Of course, I have no problem with my white friends. I have a couple of my friends who, you know, they are white, and that's not a problem. It's something which is natural. So I used to be in a place, and like we are walking, and I kind of had this fear. I was feeling like these people are so superior, man.
The white people.
Yeah, when we were in a place, I could look them. Oh God. I could just feel like, you know, there are people who are great. But until I took my time and learned about the black supremacy, I just saw them as my brothers, not as gods.
Nobody's nobody's a god.
Yeah.
Yes.
So maybe you have something to say?
What I can only ask is, brother, would you marry a white lady?
Of course, yes. There's no. If I could, I mean, there's no problem.
Okay, I think there's a problem somewhere. According to Dr. Umar Johnson, do you know? Have you heard of that brother? He speaks really good of Africans.
I haven't heard of him, to be honest.
Okay, he's a popular guy. So he said this: an African marrying a white woman is a betrayal to the African societies, because if Africans marry a white woman, you see, the African woman feels, you know, betrayed. These people oppressed us Africans. These people colonized us. These people enslaved us. So us getting married to them would be really bad, and it will not be helpful. You see, this is what Dr. Umar Johnson said. He really advocates against the interracial marriages. He does not support it anyhow. And I think if you try and look at it in the way he sees it, you will find some sense with it. But your choice is your choice.
I think I have something to say about that.
Yeah.
You see, you know, slave is something which happened, and it's so painful. And we have the question until today. You see, the people who did the slave trade, they died. Yes.
Yep.
But the slave legacy is still there.
Yes.
Because when a black person sees a white person, and they try to, you know, do something negative to them, what comes to the person, to the black person, is that these are the people who did to us these things. You understand?
Yes.
But I think, what's the help if we are living in a society where I understand we have some, you know, slave legacy which is still going on in our minds. It has always been there, and generation come, generation go, we still have it. But how will we end this kind of thing? I think one solution is intermarriages. This is one way we can end it.
I see.
Because if you end it, you will not have a way of saying, you know, this is an African American. Now I want to do this to them. If you have a population where it's a mixed population.
Yeah, mixed. Yeah.
So there is no way we tend to have a large number of group. It's okay to remain with your identity as an African or as a white person.
Do not lose your identity, whether you are black or white. Just maintain that your identity. Even if you are marrying, whichever person you choose marrying, maintain yourself.
Yeah.
Keep true to yourself.
That's where I was heading to.
Yeah.
So you see, if I decide to, you know, marry a white girl today, and I mean, there's no problem marrying a white person.
There ain't no problem.
There is no offense, because you see, this is an innocent person. I want to tell you an example.
Yeah.
So for example, we have a girl who is impregnated through rape case. Is the child innocent, or is the child, should the child be punished?
No. How the child is the consequence.
Same way.
Yeah.
We having the white people till today. They were not there. It's 400 years ago, man.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
I understand that we might be having conflicts, you know, between the whites and the blacks. It's something which is there. It will be there, you know.
Yes.
Because the media is trying to make us fight. But bro, we have good people who are white. You know, I've had a conversation with some. They're nice people. You know, and some even wish that they were black. You understand? So I understand that there's some radical things which are happening today,
yes,
which makes us understand that we need to change our perspectives. So I cannot if today I'm falling in love with a white person, or I'm having a situation where I have to marry a white person.
Yes,
I think that's not a problem, because they are innocent. As I've said, it's like a child who, you know, she was a result of, you know, the rape. Rape was a bad thing.
It's so bad.
Yeah, but this child is innocent. Yeah, same to the white people.
Yes.
Yeah, so we can't crucify people who are today. It's like crucifying the child. You know, your father was a rapist. Now I want to beat
we
you.
can't blame them
Yeah.
for the mistakes of their ancestors.
Yeah.
And that is what I think is being said here. So this is a very long conversation that I just want us to carry on with it in the next live stream. It can either be on Eugene's channel, which I really want it to be on Eugene's channel. And so we have a lot to discuss. Share your thoughts on the comment section, and do remember to subscribe to the channel. Kindly check out Eugene's channel. He's a young upcoming Pan-Africanist.
Eugene from Kenya.
Eugene from Kenya. You say you're going to change your name?
We'll consider that for now. Eugene from Kenya.
Yeah, Eugene from Kenya. So he's you've heard from him. So I'll leave the link to his channel in the description. Do ensure you subscribe, and thank you.
Bella ciao.
Kindly share your thoughts. It's really important.